Is the US policy of strategic ambiguity still a believable position given these latest comments from President Biden?
Biden making this mistake one time looks like a mistake. Biden making this gaffe 4 times now tells me that Biden probably genuinely believes that the United States' policy is to defend Taiwan. I think perhaps there just needs to be more clarity between Biden and the foreign policy team to help Biden be able to respond to these off-the-cuff comments. I think there's a couple of different ways to interpret it. First, when you look at what Biden said in the interview, he said that in the event of an unprecedented attack, and what he might have mean was an unprovoked attack. Because if he meant unprovoked, then actually that would fall in line with what strategic ambiguity says, which is that under certain conditions, the U.S. would defend Taiwan, and under certain conditions, it would not. And under a unprovoked attack by the PRC against Taiwan, then the odds of U.S. intervention would increase, which would be more in line with what Biden actually said.
What are the particular risks associated with confusion over Biden's position on Taiwan policy?
I think perhaps the biggest worry is that if Biden makes a commitment that the U.S. does not follow through, that would be perhaps the biggest gap the United States could possibly handle. For example, like I said, under certain conditions, the U.S. is very likely to help Taiwan, and under certain conditions, it is not. But by giving Taiwan a blank card in which the U.S. would intervene no matter what, and if one day the U.S. ended up not intervening because of certain policies, then that disconnect would be a very bad look for the United States, to say the least. So really, I think this is why we're in a point of what Bonnie Glaser called strategic confusion. Because even though you have points that show that perhaps the U.S. is still abiding by strategic ambiguity, you have moments like this that show that perhaps it is not.
How should the White House's foreign policy team deal with the situation where the policy of strategic ambiguity is appearing less and less clear in a way?
The White House very much needs to very clearly state and outline what the U.S.'s policy towards Taiwan is, how the United States sees Taiwan, and what the U.S. official status of Taiwan is. Once this is clarified, Biden ought to stick to that in order to reduce the number of disconnects that we're getting over these last few months. One of the other detriments to this kind of confusion is that it adds uncertainty not just to the United States, China, Taiwan trilateral relationship, but also sends a confusing message to the rest of our allies that makes the foreign policy team's job much more difficult.